Hi everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for the Full Stack Lunch and Learn webinar series. We appreciate for everyone who's joined us in the past and has come back for more. To those who are joining us for the first time today, thank you very much for being a part of today's series. So we will get started. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. If you can just make sure your microphone is on mute for us. If you do have any questions, feel free to type your questions into the chat box. I've already sent a nice little message to everyone in there. They'll be picked up by our co-host and we'll answer them as we go through to today's session. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. By way of introduction, my name's Cam O'Riordan. I'll be your host for today's webinar. We've been working through this Lunch and Learn webinar series as we go through these unusual times that we're currently living in. And I think this is our 10th episode. So once again, everyone who has joined us previously and is back again, thank you very much for rejoining us. And those who are joining us for the first time, thank you very much for jumping in, and hopefully you will come back for some more as we go through our various sessions that we're actually running. So just a little bit about who we are. If you don't know, most of the people here in the room know who we are. We're Stack Sports, formerly known as Sports TG, work with a wide variety of sporting organisations across the globe in the industry. And given what we're going through today, we thought it was important to touch on a couple of aspects of what we do and some of the options and functionality that we have available to our customers and our partners and those out there in the general sporting community. Today, we're going to be focusing on discussing online fundraising and some of the things that we can be doing in this space, how we can be using some of our products and solutions, and other things that are out there that you might want to tap into as a sporting organisation. Today, in particular, with auctions and donations, it's ideal for any sort of organisation out there, whether you're a charity, whether you're a foundation of a professional sports club, whether you're a professional sports club yourself, whether you're a grassroots sporting club or other sporting associations. Our solutions are tailored that they can work with any of these organisations across the board, and they're very, very customizable, as you'll see as we go through today's situation. Why fundraise online? It's a really, really good question. It allows you to engage with your current membership database. You can capitalize upon the reach within social media. You can reach new audiences and put your own brand and your organization out there. You can secure funds very safe in a reliable fashion in ways that you may not have been thinking about in the past. And you can also, more importantly, keep your supporters and the fans and participants and parents of children who are involved in your sporting club up to date with news and information on what's happening in your sporting organisation. We've got a couple of case studies for some organisations across the globe that we're currently working with today. And we're just going to run through some of those case studies and delve into some live examples of those case studies. So the first one that we've got here to demonstrate to everyone is Women in Sport, a fantastic organisation based over in New Zealand. They have an enormous reach across the work that they do, and they are preparing for a major international women and girls conference in 2022. Originally, they came to us with a bit of an issue that they needed solving. They needed a increased digital presence across the community and across the organisations that they actually work with. So they came to us with that problem. We rolled out our game day website, one of our templated websites for them, which allowed them to be able to communicate with their members efficiently and effectively, have an up-to-date increased digital presence. What's been happening in the last few weeks, they then contacted us.
Cam, you got me there. Like we can't actually see the slides on the screen.
Right. Okay. Okay. I will just make sure that screen is being shared out. Thank you very much for letting us know that, Chris. One moment.
Thanks, Cam. We've got that now, so thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Chris. So that should be showing to everyone now. And more in particular, what we're talking with women in sport, as we were saying, they then came to us to sort of indicate that they would like to take donations online for their members. So what we have done for them is set up a donations hub where which links directly off their own website. So what I might quickly do is just go to the Women in Sport website so you can actually see that. This is their game day templated website that we rolled out for them. Up the top here is a menu header on their website. They've got a donate now button. We just quickly and easily adapted one of our platforms to be able to take donations online for the women in sport organisations. So they had various means. They wanted to say no to no. They didn't want to say no to any sort of donations. So they've tailored everything from a $3 donation right up to a $500 donation. Quite simply, select the donation you need, agree to the privacy policy of the organisation, and you can then go through and capture key details of that particular organisation and individual who's making that donation. And I think that's a really, really key point here as well, is by capturing the details of that individual, you can then put them into your mailing list. You can keep them on your mailing list. You can keep them up to date with news and information on what's happening in your organization, as well as other things that are happening. So you capture their details, they then go through and complete an online payment. Once again, if a person enters their details in this screens and then exits out, what you can actually do as an organization is send follow-up emails to those particular individuals who have exited out of a registration during that time as well. So the system's smart enough that it'll allow you to retarget those individuals. So quite an easy to use solution, but it's been quite effective. It's only been up and running a couple of weeks now, but this particular organisation's taking donations online and encouraging all the members to go to their website and donate online, which is a fantastic tool. One of the other case studies that I'd like to share with everyone is the Chelsea Football Club, obviously a very prominent English Premier League club. Earlier this year, as we know, across Australia, we were impacted here by the tragic bushfires that swept across the country. Chelsea Football Club, being a long-term partner of our organisation, came to us and said they wanted to do their bit to help us from the other side of the world in England, which was fantastic. So what we did was rolled out our online auction platform for them. To date, Chelsea Football Club's raised over £90,000 through their auction platform, with most of those funds going directly to their charities and their partners through their foundation. And this particular, over 30 days, they raised over $2,500 for the items that they actually auctioned off. So that's equivalent of round about 180,000 Australian dollars that this particular organisation has raised during that time. Another case study is one a bit closer to home is Sydney Roosters. Once again, they obviously knew there was a bit of an issue with the bushfires. They wanted to do their bit to help. The Sydney Roosters, a fantastic brand to be associated with, winning back-to-back premierships in rugby league land for those rugby league fans out there joining us today. And in 2020, they went over to the UK when we were allowed to travel and played a World Club challenge match, and which they also won. So they actually auctioned off those jerseys. They were signed by the players. And in 10 days, when that auction went live, the Sydney Roosters, they raised over $21,000 using the product and using the solution. And once again, those funds went to the bushfire charity. These are some of the other organisations that we work with, from rugby league teams to rugby union teams to 14 of the 18 AFL clubs to A-League clubs across Australia, and even a couple of racing clubs in there as well. So game day auctions, you might think, how does it work? Can I use it? As we touched on at the beginning of today's session, game day auctions is available for any organisation, whether you're a grassroots sporting club, an association, a professional club, or even a charity or a foundation looking at raising funds. The look and feel of a platform, and we'll dive in there in a moment, is totally bespoke and customizable for each organisation we deal with. So it coincides with your own branding guidelines. It's got your own logos, and you have the ability to upload as many images and as many auction items as you want. It's very, very straightforward to use. What can you auction off? So everything from match worn jerseys to items that have been passed down to your organisation. You might have some unique items. You might have experiences. So, for instance, you may have been donated a dinner for two at a nice restaurant. You could actually use that and auction it off on the platform. You might also have a special item that you have access to that you can actually auction off as well. It might be joining a first grade coach for lunch or for dinner. It might be a relationship that you have with a particular professional sporting club, and it may be tossing the coin to start that match. It might be access to the inner sanctum of that professional club's organisation. It might be being part of handing out jerseys to a particular sporting team pre-match. Whatever you can auction off, you're only limited by your own mind and imagination on what items can actually be auctioned off through the platform. So yeah, we strongly encourage you to think outside the square, and think what other items are available for you to actually auction off. What I'm going to do is just quickly pivot across to a couple of the examples that we have of our auction platform. So this is Melbourne City Football Club, A-League team. In addition to auctioning off signed match balls, signed match jerseys, signed football boots, they also went down the pathway of auctioning off very unique experiences. So they had an EA sports pack game that they could auction off. They had a weekend away. They had access to their chairman's club lounge. They had dinner for two at a restaurant. They had a round of golf with some famous players. They had tickets to their end of season awards night. They had the option to become a player mascot. They had a VIP tour of their facilities. So they really took thinking outside the box really, really well. Every auction, just to go in the ins and outs, has a start date. It also has an end date. It has a minimum reserve. So if you know the value of that particular item is $150, you can set a minimum reserve of $150. In particular, with this particular organization, once again, the branding and the theme, as we go through the various auction platforms here, you can see it's branded and themed in accordance with that organization's guidelines. So they've got their logos, they've got their header, they've got the auction items here that were auctioned off. They can have links to their sponsors and partners down the bottom of the page. And once again, this is just another example of how an auction platform has been used by some of these organizations. For some of the yes, Chris.
Cam, you there? We just had a question that's come through directly. With regards to the updates of the dates and the prices on the page, who does that? Is that the client, or does that come from your end?
Yeah, great question, Chris. So we take on that work on behalf of our customers and on behalf of our partners. So we will load up the images, we'll get the platform up to running for you. All you need to do is tell us what items you have, what the images are, supply us with those images, and we will do the work for you. That's part of a full service with the auction platform that we provide to the various organisations out there. One of the other things that we have recently done for our professional organisations out there is work through a very professional looking auction platform as well, which can be up and running and once again customised in accordance to the branding guidelines of that organisation. And this is the North Melbourne Football Club example that you see before us here today.
Thank you.
No worries, Chris. Thank you. Hope that answered that question. Couple of other things that you may think of that you wish to run and ideas in terms of fundraising from this point of view. We also have our auction, in addition to our auction functionality, we also have our online raffle functionality. So look at it as a way of moving those raffles that you used to having down at the ground on game day or at the clubhouse after the match or pre-match, that we can help digitize that and take that online for you. So you may run a raffle that's selling $2 tickets to $50 tickets. You may have a major prize pool that's being run. We can help set up an online raffle for your organizations. You can have multiple raffles being run at any one time. Once again, there's secure and safe payment processing online. There's audit trails ensuring the correct capture of data and information. And you can choose your own flexible timescales for those competitions and raffles. So once again, just another idea that is available for organisations out there that they may want to consider during this time. And it's certainly something that we can assist in digitising for you. Moving forward, we understand the pinch that everyone's feeling at this time, especially in the sporting landscape and the sporting world and the events world out there. And we're willing to help out those organisations as much as possible during this time. Our team members and our team contact details are over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Once again, to reiterate what we discussed today, our online auction platform, our donation platform, and our raffles and sweepstakes platform is certainly available for every organisation. From now until the end of May, what we're actually offering the sporting and events community out there is a free setup. So we're not charging any fees or annual licensing fees. There will be some small transaction fees applied to the use of those functions and those systems, but there's no lock-in contract. So an organisation may come to us and say that they want to raise funds for their particular sports club and they have some jerseys or memorabilia in place that they can auction off. We can help you get started today, and that isn't going to cost your organisation anything to get started and get that platform. The one thing we would say is if you're running an auction campaign, if you're running an online raffle, or you want to digitize donations for your organizations and you choose to use any of our solutions, make sure that goes with that is an effective marketing campaign or communication to your members so you can get the maximum benefit and maximum impact from those live auctions, those live raffles, and that donation functionality that you're running. So once again,
I've just had one other question come through. Sorry.
You're right.
Just in regards to the distribution of funds back to the club, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. So we take payment on behalf of each organisation. So we receive those funds, and we then disperse those funds minus our transaction fees, depending on which product you're using. The transaction fees will be different. We will disperse those funds weekly back to those organisations so they have that money in their account. So we take payment using our integrated payment system that's in our platform, and we then disperse those funds back to those organisations.
Great, thank you.
No worries, Chris. Yeah, so that is us in terms of our auction functionality, our donations functionality, and our online raffles and sweepstakes functionality. Just a couple other things just to let everyone know out there. We're just trying to keep people connected as much as possible and provide some interesting content during this time. Pleased to say we talked about this probably in the first 5 or 6 podcasts that we launched. It's finally very, very pleasing to say, or webinar series we launched, that our podcast series is now live. It's accessible wherever you access your normal podcasts, or you can just go to the website on your screen there, sportstg.com/the full stack, and you can listen to our podcast series. And I'll just quickly show everyone where we're at with that here on our website. Simply just go to sportstg.com/the full stack. You can listen to any of our podcasts on this particular screen, or once again, access that wherever you access your podcasts. Want to thank everyone for listening and joining us today. Once again, next week we're actually going to be back, and we're going to bring in one of our partners to be part of this Lunch and Learn webinar series. So next week we're going to be joined by Bennett Merriman from Rostify, who's going to be discussing fan engagement, and more importantly for those community sports clubs out there and organisations out there, how to remain engaged with your volunteers. You can register now for that webinar. We will also include all the information and details of that webinar on the EDM that we send out at the back end of this week. But once again, if you just go to our website here, sportstg.com/COVID-19, you can access all the recordings of our previous webinars, and you can also register by clicking down here to register for next week's webinar. Everyone, want to thank everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. It was a nice quick one for today's session. This recording will be available in the next 24 hours on our website. And if you do want to get in touch with us and access any of the tools that we demonstrated to you, the easiest way is just to drop an email to sales@sportstg.com, and one of our team members will be back in touch with you. Thank you very much, and stay safe, and we look forward to talking with you again next week.